So I would like to introduce you to a few rolling lessons, and I'd like to start today with the very basic fundamental lesson of lying on the side and rolling forward and back. One of many rolling lessons, but this to me is really, this is my go-to lesson. If I ever feel that my back is acting up, I will lie on the side and do this lesson. This is very basic, very accessible. This is probably a lesson that I've done hundreds of times. If I just want to lie on the floor and sort of take a break, I would go to this position. It's the safest, most accessible position. It's sort of a best kept secret that when your back bothers you, you want to lie on your side in a fetal position. You most likely do not want to lie on your back flat or on your front. Okay, so side lying is a really, really safe and useful way to deal with back pain. A little bit counterintuitive for some reason. A lot of people are not aware of it and just spend so much time trying to be on the back, trying to do stuff that is not really helpful. So I recommend for you, if you haven't heard of that until today, to play with it when the need arises. So lie on the floor, lie on your side. I'm going to place my arm under my head because it's an easy position for me. You could also lie with both arms forward and either rest your head on the floor like that. If you're able to do that, that's wonderful. Or you can place a pillow or some padding under your head, which makes it a little bit easier. But the lesson is lying on the side in a fetal position, knees bent forward roughly at 90 degrees, but again, if you have a little bit of trouble with it, it's okay for your knees to be a little bit lower than that. And then place your top arm, which in my case is the left arm, straight in front of you, hand resting on the floor. And the lesson is very, very simple. It's all about sliding this hand forward and back. That really is the whole lesson. There's a bunch of details to look at when you do that that would make this lesson much more effective than simply doing this movement. So as you well know, in our work, your intention is very critical, right? So what you want to do is you want to use this left arm as a meter, as a dial. You know, we're not activating the arm. So the first constraint is that we're not bending and unbending the elbow, right? We don't do this, right? And I would take it a step further and say we don't even do this from the shoulder, right? This is a shoulder action, what I'm doing right now. Not that. So how do you place this arm here very passively and move it by moving your torso, by rolling yourself on your side, right? So this may take a little bit of experimentation. You may be foreign to this if you haven't done this before, right? So you basically are rolling yourself a little bit forward and rolling yourself a little bit back. And let the arm be soft and light on the floor so that it can slide easily. If there's some friction, if your hand gets stuck, just find ways to overcome it. You know, you either put a little towel or something that has less friction with the floor. Okay? Now, more details to look at, right? So the first thing you want to do is look at the most potent part of this equation, which is the ground forces underneath you. How do the ribs on my side relate to the floor? Where do they roll forward? Where do they roll back? So again, this is mainly about paying attention to what is going on underneath me. Paying attention, listening to the movement that takes place under me, to the relationship of my ribs to the floor. And when I roll back, which part of those ribs am I lying on? And as I roll forward, which parts of the ribs am I leaning on now, and what do they feel like? The movement can be very, very small, can be much smaller than what I'm doing right now. It could be so small that a person looking at you moving may think that you're just lying there sleeping and not moving. It can be so tiny. And when we're injured, those tiny movements are extremely effective in relieving back pain and recovering from an injury. You may notice gradually what else is moving, what else is rolling on the floor below the center of the movement, which is my arm, shoulders, this part of the spine. We can look further down towards the pelvis, and we can look further up towards the head. Now, for the pelvis, we're looking at a constraint, right? We're looking at how to do this movement without activating the pelvis. If you do not activate the pelvis, it means that you're twisting. It means that the pelvis remains facing this way, but the shoulders tilting this way. So what that means is that your spine twists between this point and that point, okay? So the first thing to do when you notice your pelvis, either it's moving or not, if it's moving, please begin to eliminate or to gradually move it less and less and less until you discover that you're able to not engage the pelvis as you make these movements. It's a process of inhibiting the movement of the pelvis if they are a natural way for you to initiate this movement. Now, when you go to the head, it's a little different. It's how free the head could be and how you're beginning to notice that it's doing things on its own that are very comfortable for it to do. In other words, how can the head roll forward and back on its own, not because you tell the head to, not because you have an intention of rolling it, but because you're allowing it to move wherever it wants to go. It's a very important aspect of movement when you look at the head in awareness to movement lessons, to allow for the head to go where it wants to go. And the reason why is because we know that the head and neck are going to organize themselves effectively if we move softly and gently and patiently. And you may gradually discover that as you do more and more of that, your face will gradually move more and more towards the floor. And if I change to this, you'll see that my head will begin to roll even more and more into the floor. And strangely enough, it's a very comfortable movement. And you can see a twist. In other words, the head is actually twisting beyond the shoulders, which means the twist in the spine is more global from the pelvis all the way to the top, to the head. Okay? So these are the main things to look at. I would also recommend for you to notice a little detail regarding whether it's easier to go forward or it's easier to go back. So that's enough for today. There's going to be more coming up soon. The lesson becomes more complex and also more exciting. But again, this is, for me, definitely my go-to lesson when I need a break, when I need to lie down and not do much. I just lie on my side in a fetal position and do a tiny bit of rolling forward and back. You can even do this in bed as you go to sleep, or again, when you feel that your back is a little bit compromised. Hope this helps. Play with it. Tell me what you think. I will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.